All right, today we're going to talk about how to get your picking a little bit faster and hopefully not have your arm fall off. That would be good. So let's get to it. All right, a couple of things that I notice when people want to get faster, and is something that Badio has talked about, where he says people will practice something slow one way, and then as they get faster, they completely change everything about the technique they just did. And I find that to be very true, because what'll happen is they'll sit here and they'll be very loose with their picking, let's say. That's a lot of space that you're switching in between with that pick. And then they get faster and they've practiced it at this, and then they'll go 5% faster, 5% faster, 5% faster. But then they start twisting their arm down, or whatever it may be, and they start tightening up the pick. And it's like, okay, if you're going to practice something slow to get it fast, make sure you're practicing what you're playing fast at the slow speed, and then move all of that together. Don't practice it one way slow, and then as you get faster, decide, well, now I'm going to change what I'm doing, because that doesn't help you at all. So we'll go, okay, one thing to really think about is look at that pick. Don't look at your left hand. Your left hand isn't the problem at this point. That right hand, you got to stare down at it a little bit and go, okay, how much am I moving across this string? So if I'm going like this, right? If I'm swaying a lot over that string, that allows the string to wiggle a lot, because you're going really far, and you're going to be less accurate too, because you have the chance of missing the string, right, on the way up or the way down. So you want to really tighten up that pick and only go the width of the string needed, which is not much at all, right? Especially if you have 9s or 10s on these high strings. You only need that much space. Right there alone, you're able to probably go almost twice as fast just by tightening up the range of motion that you have in your picking. And then one thing to do is come back a little bit. Don't be picking right here. If you take the pick right now and you push on this string, you'll see there's a lot of slack over here. So you're trying to pick, and the string has all this slack going back and forth. If you come up here, there's a little less slack because the string has this, it meets the bridge, it's a little tighter. The string isn't going to be flopping and you're trying to catch it. It's just going to be this tight rebound that it has. Now right there, I have zero effort going into it. I don't feel anything here, I don't feel anything here, and I don't feel anything here. If you start tensing everything up and you get all like that, you're just going to frickin' tear your elbow or something. And then you're going to get these tennis elbow problems. What we want to do instead is lock that wrist in, pivot on something, whether you want to pivot on your 2 front fingers, like Badio or a couple other guys do, or if you want to pivot back here, that's fine. You're trying to find something to be a focal point on your hand, some location on your hand, here or here, that you can use as your focal point of all of your energy going there, and then you can pivot off of it in a very small distance, rather than floating up in the air and not having any consistency, right? So if we come up here, I like to pivot my hand back here, especially if I'm going across the strings, because as I move, the palm of my hand, the side of it anyway, the side of the palm, is going to cut those strings as I move. See, I can go across. I don't have all that noise. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit so you get the point, but it's not that obvious. See, nice and clean. I don't have all that. Then on the way back down, your pointer finger on this edge, kind of where the fatty part of your finger is, should kind of be locking on the way down. If you're doing all of this nonsense with your left hand, you're going to get a lot of noise. And I know a lot of players that do that. They try to look like they're playing faster. That kind of stuff. And it's like, it's like trying to like jump over a fence by jumping 10 times farther than what the fence is, right? Or how 10 times taller than how tall the fence is. Like, why? You don't need to do that. You just need to get over the fence. It's the same thing here. You don't need to be all fancy with it, right? Just be tight and concise to the board. You want to look like you're not doing anything. Right? We're not here to like jump around all freaking crazy and do all this stupid crap. But calm down. Same thing with sweep picking too. Now we're not talking about sweep picking necessarily in this video, but sweep picking people are we want to have like a nice tight to the board. We're trying to be like nice and tight to the board. Right? Everything's concise, everything's tight. Now, we're moving across the strings. We lock our wrist in place. We don't want to tilt our wrist like this, because now, if you're doing this motion, and then you start twisting your wrist, well, now you're doing this motion, which is different than this. And then the more you try to reach for those strings, now you're doing like this motion. I don't know what the hell that is. Don't do that. This is what we do. And then we lock the wrist in place. We pivot off of something, whether it's the bridge or your front fingers. I can't do the front fingers. My hands are too small. It doesn't work. So I pivot back here off the bridge. And then you push with your elbow. You don't reach with your wrist. You lock the wrist. You reach with your elbow across the strings. See that? So no matter what, whether I'm playing, like you want it to be like I'm playing like this, and then the guitar moves. Not you reaching for the guitar. See that? Boom. And then it's just tight little movements. What are we doing up here? You're letting your arm fall back. I'm pulling with my elbow, pushing with my elbow. So those are a couple key things. Left hand needs to be tight against the board. Right hand needs to be locked with the wrist. Tight little movements. Pivoting off of something, front or back, whatever. Putting it all together. Not making big, stupid motions that don't make sense. With all of your picking. I hope that this helps. And if it didn't, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Don't subscribe. But do subscribe if it did help. All right. Later.